Imagine investing in a business that seems impossible to lose money in. Every month, the profits arrive exactly on time. The numbers look perfect. The paperwork looks legitimate. And the man running everything? He appears to be living the American dream. Private jets, luxury homes, business magazines calling him a genius entrepreneur. For years, thousands of investors believed they had found a financial gold mine. But behind the scenes, there was no gold mine, no secret business strategy, no billion-dollar retail empire, just one enormous lie. A lie so massive that it would eventually become one of the largest frauds in American history. This is the story of Tom Petters, the businessman who convinced investors to hand over billions of dollars before everything came crashing down.
The making of a businessman.
Thomas Petters was born in Minnesota. From a young age, he seemed fascinated by business. While other kids were focused on school sports and hobbies, Tom was thinking about buying and selling products. By the late 1980s and early 1990s, he had built a company called Petters Group Worldwide. The business claimed to specialize in purchasing merchandise and reselling it to major retailers. The concept sounded simple: buy products in bulk, sell them to giant stores, collect the profit. Over time, Tom's reputation grew. He acquired companies, made headlines, appeared successful. To outsiders, he looked like a self-made American entrepreneur, someone who had figured out how to turn ordinary deals into extraordinary profits. And investors loved the story, because America has always admired successful businessmen, especially those who seem capable of turning small opportunities into fortunes. But few people knew what was happening behind closed doors.
The perfect investment.
Tom Petters began offering investors a remarkable opportunity. Here's how it supposedly worked. Petters claimed he had access to huge retail deals. According to him, major stores wanted enormous shipments of electronics and consumer products. To complete these deals, he needed short-term financing. Investors would provide the money. Petters would purchase the products. Retailers would buy them, and everyone would earn a healthy profit. The return sounded incredible, and even more importantly, they appeared consistent, month after month, year after year. Investors received payments. That consistency created trust. Trust attracted more investors, and more investors brought more money. Soon, millions became hundreds of millions. Then hundreds of millions became billions. Wealthy individuals joined. Investment funds joined. Banks joined. Everyone wanted a piece of what looked like a machine that printed money. But there was one devastating problem. The retail deals didn't exist.
The raid. In September 2008, federal agents moved in. Search warrants were executed. Offices were raided. Computers were seized. Suddenly, the image of the successful billionaire businessman began to crack. News outlets across America started reporting on the investigation. Investors grew nervous. Questions spread rapidly. And for the first time, the public started hearing allegations that the entire empire may have been built on deception. The timing couldn't have been worse. America was already facing a major financial crisis. Trust in financial institutions was collapsing.
Soaring gas prices, falling home prices, and rising unemployment.
And now, another massive fraud was emerging, one that involved billions of dollars.
But every fraud has a weakness, and in this case, the weakness came from inside.
One of Petters' closest associates began cooperating with federal authorities. Investigators started collecting evidence. They examined documents, interviewed witnesses, reviewed financial records. What they found painted a disturbing picture. The supposed transactions could not be verified. The merchandise often could not be located. The paperwork contained serious inconsistencies. Federal agents realized they weren't looking at isolated mistakes. They were looking at something much larger, something that had been operating for years, quietly, systematically, and the walls were beginning to close in. Behind the scenes, investigators would later discover a shocking reality. Many of the purchase orders shown to investors were fake. Many of the documents supporting the transactions were fabricated. The products supposedly being bought and sold, often they never existed at all. Instead of profits being generated from legitimate business activity, new investor money was being used to pay older investors. The structure resembled what authorities would later describe as a massive Ponzi scheme. As long as new money kept flowing in, the illusion survived. And for years, it survived remarkably well. Tom Petters continued building his image: luxury cars, private aircraft, corporate acquisitions, public appearances. Everything reinforced the idea that he was a brilliant businessman. Few questioned the story.
The fall. As evidence mounted, the case against Tom Petters became increasingly difficult to ignore. Prosecutors argued that billions of dollars had been raised through fraudulent representations. Investors who believed they were funding legitimate retail transactions had actually been funding an illusion. In 2009, Tom Petters was convicted on multiple federal charges. The verdict marked the end of a business empire that had once appeared unstoppable. The sentence was severe, 50 years in federal prison. For many victims, the conviction brought a sense of justice, but it couldn't restore everything they had lost. Retirement savings disappeared. Businesses suffered. Families faced devastating financial consequences. The damage extended far beyond balance sheets, because when trust is broken on this scale, the impact can last for years. The story of Tom Petters is a reminder that appearances can be deceiving. Success can be manufactured. Document can be forged. Promises can sound convincing. And even experienced investors can be fooled. For years, Tom Petters appeared to have all the answers. He projected confidence, wealth, credibility. But behind the image was a system dependent on one thing: belief. The moment people stopped believing, the empire collapsed. And what remained was one of the largest investment frauds ever uncovered in the United States. A billion-dollar lesson about trust, greed, and the dangers of opportunities that seemed too good to be true.